Hey everybody, it's Walking Man Walks here in Bali. I got this new, new to me GoPro 9 black camera I've never really filmed on before, besides at Batu Caves last week. But we're here in Bali, we were in Malaysia and it was cool there, but not doing all my research, I realized it was monsoon season there, so most of the good beaches and stuff were closed, and there was a lot of stuff that we wanted to do that we couldn't do, like going to the national parks because flooding was an issue. So we decided to head out a little early, and I found these cheap tickets to Bali, and here we are. I've never been to Bali before. First impressions, Bali. Morning coffee. First impressions, Bali. It's crowded. There's a lot of Europeans here. I'm in South Bali now. Next week, or in a couple days, we're going to go to North Bali, see how that is. Went to the beach yesterday, and it's also kind of rainy here right now, but it's not like hazardous to be out in the rain. So we were at the beach in the rain. I mean, the beach was still packed. It's like that was the first beach of many that we're going to see here in Bali, but it seems like the beaches here are going to be pretty crowded. But overall, I gotta say pretty good things about Bali so far. It was super easy to get a scooter here. It costs, $100 for 10 days. That's how long we're here for. And there's no insurance, no muss, no fuss. I mean, they don't take credit cards, which I was a little disappointed in. But you can, you just pay cash. There's no insurance. So you're responsible for any damages, but that being said, it was $100 for 10 days, all said and done, for what seems to be like a brand new scooter. It's only 110 Scooby, I think it's called. I don't know if it's European or Chinese, but it's super light compared to my 125 Honda that I have in the Philippines. But I mean, it seems so far to be a pretty nice ride. But anyway, that's my first impressions of Bali. But what I wanted to talk about this morning was I keep seeing all these videos in the Philippines, vloggers getting old in the Philippines, and what it's like getting old in the Philippines, and I just wanted to weigh in on that, because I'm in my mid-50s. I'm not as old as some of the vloggers in the Philippines, and I'm older than some. I guess I'm about the median, in the middle somewhere. But and it's about 10 years before I could retire, unless I decide to retire early, which if you follow my vlog, I've been thinking about for a while. So I'm some time off from retiring, but I've been really looking into things I could do here in the Philippines for work. Like I have an advanced college degree, so I could always be an online teacher, which is not as easy as it sounds. And I feel like that teaching online, especially English, is something that's probably going to be almost non-existent in a few years because of AI. I already see the transition, and I applied for a job teaching traditional school, science, what I'm trained in. Maybe I'll do that. This GoPro camera, the camera shuts off, blacks out, and you have to touch it every few minutes. I don't know if there's something I could change in the settings to fix that, but if you see me reaching for the camera, that's why I'm doing that. But I am getting older, and it's like my grandfather used to say, getting old is not for pussies. He used to tell me that when he was in his 70s and 80s. I'm in my 50s now, and I feel like that, some days your body just doesn't do what you want it to do anymore. It's, when I was, and don't get me wrong, I felt like that, in my 30s, I felt like I was getting old, but at the time I was, competing in extreme kayaking and extreme skiing and all that stuff, and, and whatever I did in my whole life, I was always a little late. I don't know why. I went to college a little later than everybody else. I was mostly financial stuff. But even the extreme sports, because of the way I grew up, basically in extreme poverty in New York. I didn't learn to ski basically till I went to college and all that stuff, and I fell in love with it, and I did make a life out of it for a while, um, which wasn't easy, because there's no money obviously in competing skiing and kayaking and that, there still is, and even the best of the best make very little money. But so anyway, you start to realize, I can't remember, I think it was in Boracay last year, I was swimming, and I used to be able to free dive, really well, and I was swimming, and all of a sudden I felt like I was out of breath, and something that wasn't normal for me. I was usually able to push the boundaries athletically. But anyway, that's part of getting old, and the other part that I see a lot of guys talking about is like healthcare. Like as you get old, luckily I've been, pretty good health-wise. I haven't really had too much stuff. My biggest health scare so far in the Philippines was actually with my girlfriend and her endometriosis, and she's in her early 20s, you know what I mean? But so I consider myself never spent a night in a hospital in my life. I've had a hernia surgery once, which is an outpatient surgery, but I've never spent a night in a hospital. I consider myself very lucky, and partially luck, partially, environmental reasons, like conscious decisions I made. I was a vegetarian for many years. I stopped drinking heavily, after college, basically. Even in college, I stopped a lot of those activities that, are detrimental to your health. I've always smoked a little marijuana here and there. It's been legal in Colorado for some time, but I don't look at that as, a definite threat to your health. I smoked cigarettes for a little while in high school, but, I never really liked it that much. I did it more to be cool. So, I haven't, I've minimalized the bad habits in my life. And, that's a good thing health-wise. I see that as an important factor as to why I'm not, in the hospital all the time like some guys my age. But then there's my cousin who just passed away a few weeks ago, a year younger than me, 55 I think he was exactly when he passed away. And he was a premature baby. I always remember that. He had be in an incubator when he was born, and I think that's part of it. But his whole life he's had certain health problems. In his late 30s and 40s, I would say he got a weight problem, obesity, and I think that was part of the problem. He ended up dying of kidney cancer. They found some tumors on his kidneys, and they operated, and it just had spread too much, and it was too late for him. Within a couple weeks of his diagnosis, he was dead, basically. And now my best friend, who I used to run around kayaking with, I've kind of lost touch with in the last few years. We keep in touch here and there, but we have different lives. We live in different parts of the country. He's married, I'm not. I spend half the year abroad. But we still talk. We used to do just 10 years ago, we were doing multi-day ski trips together, 5-day backcountry trips in the Wallowas and in Oregon State, which were super fun and awesome. But, we got busy and stopped doing that. And for me, at that time, I was living in West Virginia, so I had to drive across the country to go do the trips. It was worth it, but, it's something probably only a single guy could do and get away with. It's, a lot of money and time to do it. But anyway, I just, found on Facebook the other day that he had cancer, and he's been doing chemo for like a year now, and he was cleared. And just last week, a week before Christmas, he felt like he was having a stroke. He went to the hospital. It turns out it showed up again as a tumor in his brain, And him and my cousin, both a year younger than me, which I know a year doesn't matter that much, but you know, it's got me thinking about, you know, getting old. You're gonna get these health issues, you know, probably, you know, 99% of people or everybody who gets old eventually has health issues, I think. So do you really want to retire in the Philippines? Where, you know, I just found out the healthcare is definitely subpar to the US. You know, and there's no insurance there for an expat. Not that I've found that's anything worthwhile, so you just have to pay out of pocket. And, you know, yes, it's cheap, but it's not so cheap, you know, unless you have a couple $100,000 sitting around that you want to just, you know, go and move there with no safety net, you know. And, you know, although I can't get Medicare yet, I've been looking into that, you know, and, you know, I've done a little research on the Medicare system. You know, there's Medicare A part, Medicare A, B, and C. And, you know, what I found out is the Medicare A only pays for, you know, catastrophic stuff, and then B pays for a little more, and C, but B and C are partially or all privately run, so they, just like the United Healthcare thing, they'll deny your claims, where Medicare Part A, yeah, they'll deny some stuff, but just a lot easier. And I remember my uncle, who's 80 now, telling me years ago, and he was a principal his whole life, and you know, he was, because he's in his 80s now, you know, I think he's 82 actually. He was working his whole life as a principal in the heyday of, you know, like American healthcare, when it was still run by, you know, non-profits, non-for-profit companies. I mean, it was private, but all the companies had to be non-for-profit till like the 80s or 90s, I think, you know. So in his heyday, he had some of the best private healthcare, you know, and that's when people, you know, used to say, oh, American healthcare is the best, you know. But, you know, at some point they became for-profit companies like United Healthcare, the 11th biggest company in the world right now. And they started working for their shareholders, not for their customers, who are the patients. And denying claims became a good way for them to make money. You know, telling people they don't need this and they don't need that, even though the doctor said they need it, became a, you know, their model of really making $20 billion a year in profit. So anyway, that's the conundrum. Is it Medicare, the socialized version of Medicare, the Medicare that you get from the government that's not privatized yet? That's probably the way to go if you want to retire in the Philippines. Keep that, and if you have a catastrophic thing happen, hopefully you can fly home to the US and get the medical aid you need. And there is programs. I know if you watch Paul the Old Dog in the Philippines, he had the ambassador a few years ago on his show, and they talked about it. You know, if you're an American citizen and something catastrophic happens and you're living in the province, there is, you know, a system in place where they'll send like a helicopter to get you and take you to the I can't remember the name of the hospital, but the Americanized or American hospital in Manila. Now, I don't know the nuance, if that's covered by Medicare and all that stuff. You know, or you might just have to, you know, say you need some kind of heart surgery or something and you have time, you could fly home to the US and get it. I mean, it's all pretty complicated, and there are risks you have to take no matter what you do. I've heard that guys say, you know, if you have $30,000 in the bank, that should cover you for anything that will happen in the Philippines. But if that's all you have, and you know, you have a medical thing and it costs you $30,000, then what? Then you're broke after that. So I would say you probably need $30,000 just as a medical expense, and then another probably $100,000, you know, if you're getting just Social Security, say, then another $100,000 to keep you going for other expenses and stuff. So anyway, you know, those are my thoughts on, you know, getting old in the Philippines, and I'll make more stuff on this in the future. Go ahead and like, share, subscribe, and most of all, comment on my videos. It really helps in the algorithm, and I answer most of the comments that are relevant and not nasty. So comment, tell me what you think about, you know, getting old in general, getting old in the Philippines, lifestyle, you know, if you want to talk about, if you need tips on your lifestyle, how to stay healthy as you get old. I'm pretty fluent in that stuff. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I'll try and make some videos about more of what it's like here in Bali, and we really like it so far. It's cool here. I like the weather compared to the Philippines. But I'll see you next time.
Now where do we go?